Xin mời tiến sĩ Đào Thị Hợi, thành viên của Nghị hội, lên đây để nói vài lời bằng tiếng Anh, và xin bà Ngô Thị Hiền, Chủ tịch của Ủy ban Tự do Tôn giáo cho Việt Nam, nói bằng tiếng Việt Nam.
I'd like to read something about the writer Trần Khải Thanh Thủy to you. Writer Trần Khải Thanh Thủy, 49, a teacher from 1983 to 1992, and a novelist with 15 books published in Vietnam and 6 others overseas. She has continuously and courageously voiced her opposition to the regime, fought for the victims of injustice, written reports to denounce the communist authorities' evil doings. As a result, she kept being harassed and humiliated for years. On April 21st, 2007, she was arrested allegedly for spreading propaganda against the Socialist Republic state. She was held until being brought to a closed trial by the Hanoi People's Court. No family members, supporters, or reporters were permitted to attend. She was sentenced to 9 months and 10 days in prison while she was suffering diabetes, tuberculosis, and arthritis. She was released on January 31st, 2008, but continued to be under surveillance, harassed and threatened by police and militia stationed in front of her house, using different dirty tricks, particularly after she had published 2 books overseas and a number of political essays advocating for the victims of injustice in Thái Hà, Hưng Yên. Recently, on October 8, 2009, undercover police ruthlessly attacked her and her husband at her home, then arrested her and accused her for assaulting and intentionally causing injury. Mrs. Trần Khải Thanh Thủy was awarded the Helman Hamed Prize by Human Rights Watch and invited to be a member of the International Pen Club in 2007. Trần Khải Thanh Thủy works have left a tremendous impact on the human rights movement in Vietnam, especially in the field of advocacy for victims of social injustice, and is well worthy of the Vietnam Human Rights Awards 2009.
Congresswoman Loretta Sanchez doesn't have much time to spare because her time is very precious. I would like to invite Congresswoman Loretta Sanchez to come up. I would like to introduce her. She's a member of the bipartisan Congresswoman Sanchez is a member of the bipartisan Congressional Human Rights Caucus, and she can be considered the darling godmother of the Vietnamese community in Orange County. She voted against the U.S.-Vietnam trade agreement, asking Vietnam to improve first its political and human rights conditions and to release all political prisoners. The Hanoi regime denied 4 times a visa for her to visit Vietnam, but finally complied.
Yeah.
Congresswoman Sanchez.
Thank you. Thank you very much to all of you. I have to tell you that I really am just going to say hello in a few short words because I'm the speaker. When I have to run back to the House of Representatives because I'm leading and being the speaker on the floor at 4 o'clock. So, but it's always a thrill to be before this community, which taught me about human rights. So I would like to welcome everybody to Washington, D.C., welcome you to the annual Human Rights Awards ceremony, and of course, to thank the Vietnam Human Rights Network for inviting me to this very special event. So today is International Human Rights Day. It marks the 61st anniversary of the United Nations Universal Declaration on Human Rights, making it even more appropriate to recognize those who work in such an exceptional way for the human rights of all people around the nation. You know, at this moment there's an individual who's being detained, an individual who's being harassed, a family who is afraid. At this moment there's probably a Buddhist monk somewhere seeing his temple being destroyed or burned down. At this moment there are men and women fighting all around the world for what each and every one of us in this room believes in. That is the right to speak, the right to think, the right to come together and assemble, the right to write our words, to speak our words, the right to believe in our own God in the way that we want to. And so it's important that we recognize them. Unfortunately, you know, one of the worst perpetrators of lack of human rights is the country of Vietnam, is that government in Vietnam. But despite all of those restrictions of expression, the people of Vietnam remain relentless when it comes to fighting for their freedom. As many of you know, I represent what I think is the largest community in the world outside of Vietnam, the Vietnamese community of Orange County. Many of you live there. I have had the opportunity now for 13 years to represent. And I know that the passion of this community in Orange County with respect to human rights will not be diminished until we see that freedom that we seek in Vietnam. The rise of human rights in Vietnam will come from those within Vietnam. It is important for us to stay strong here, to help them so that they will be strong within those borders. And of course, without the expertise and the help from everybody here, I would have never been able to unanimously pass House Resolution 672, a resolution calling for the internet freedom in Vietnam. You know, we introduced that resolution because it's one of the ways that we communicate. It's one of the best ways we communicate with those inside of Vietnam to figure out what is going on, to figure out how we can help to continue to put that pressure on the people who deny the very basic human rights that we want to see. It's one of the ways, one of the effective ways that Vietnam has had to block the bloggers from reporting on national concerns such as corruption, worker exploitation, and of course, police brutality. And today we honor and recognize two incredible individuals who continue to be on the forefront of fighting for that, for freedom. Pastor Win Kong Ching sacrificed his freedom to fight against that religious oppression in the Central Highlands ethnic community. He is isolated right now, all of his civic freedoms having been taken away by that corrupt Vietnamese government, and he is under tight surveillance by the police. And of course, writer Trang Ca Ten Thuy, writing so many reports, fighting so hard, standing up and advocating for those bloggers who were in that court system, which was unjust, and the beatings that happened against her and her husband. And the moment that we figured it out, I called back to our embassy in Vietnam, and we had the DCM, the chief of the mission, the Charge, Virginia Palmer, go and send somebody to find out how her 13-year-old daughter was doing. Of course, today we have her other daughter here to accept that. I wish that we had her mother here, because I think we would all give her a hug. And we all do view her as a hero, because it takes incredible strength, incredible will to be a fighter like that. And I have met so many in Vietnam who fight like that. Not just your mother. The Venerable Taekwondo, Dr. Daniel Nguyen Quay, who's fought so hard. His brother, I know, here lives in the Virginia area. So many who have fought for the freedom. And you know, we can and we will see a Vietnam that is fair, a Vietnam that protects individual rights, a Vietnam that allows expression. With your fight and with the fight of our great activists within Vietnam, we will see that day. So thank you so much for attending today on behalf of your mother. We really appreciate that. She is an amazing woman. You know, sometimes I want to end with this because I do have to go back to the floor, but this is important. Sometimes we live in history and we don't even know that we're living it. I know you're here today to accept for your mother, and I know that you understand that's important. But in 10 or 20 years, when we look back to those very big, important step-by-step fights that happened, we don't even know, you don't even know, we don't even understand the impact of these actions. We live making history today, and we don't even understand how big a history this will be. So thank you for being with us today. Thank you. Thank you, and let's continue the fight for freedom and for human rights. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. We know that Congresswoman Loretta Sanchez has made history in Vietnam and in the U.S. for us, for Vietnamese. Thank you.